it's about 1,500 square feet, but the north end we didn't completely finish, so I think it's about maybe 1,300 square feet that are finished. Overall, I would say it's about 90,000, give or take. There's definitely some extras that come on top of that, which I don't really include as part of the project because they were kind of overall facility stuff that needed to happen anyways, as far as like moving the water line to a different spot and connecting it to septic, or just having overall gutters fixed and that sort of thing. So it's about 90. We did spray foam in the ceilings and in the walk-in coolers, and then we did mostly blue board in the walls, except for the walk-ins. Yeah, it was definitely an interesting process. I mean, I was trying to be on the fast track because I really wanted it ready for the season, so I'm sure that probably made me an annoying client, but I really wanted it to be, I didn't want to work in the space that we've been working in for another season. So that meant everything was happening over the winter, so that brings its own challenges as far as digging for, moving water lines and locating septic and that sort of thing. That was some huge hurdles, but I did work with a contracting firm to do most of it, and so I definitely helped and made decisions about what I wanted done. But as far as getting, because they had to jackhammer the old slab out of here, which is pretty unbelievable, and that wound up being a huge hurdle that we weren't going to do initially. But the ceiling height in this building was so low because it had been the bottom floor of a dairy barn for so long, that we just felt like in order to make it a really quality workspace for our business and for our businesses going forward in the future, who knows, having that full height ceiling was going to be a huge asset. So that wound up adding quite a bit to the project, but I think in the end it's been really a good thing now, and it will continue to be a good thing just to have that extra space, and that allows you to fit all these normally sized things that you really wouldn't have been able to fit in, not to mention being able to drive in gate, that sort of thing. So just have the space be more versatile because of that. So that was a huge part of the project, is getting rid of the old foundation, getting it out of here, and then we were able to utilize a bunch of that material for parking lot areas up there that we created. So, but now we have a parking area up top using all of that old foundation ground up, and so that's been helpful to kind of keep that on the farm and use it in a different way. And then obviously pouring the foundation, the drainage I'm really happy about. I wasn't sure, it never looked like it was going to be pitched enough, but it really works well. And then as far as finding a contractor, I think I got maybe 4 bids before I decided on the company that I used, and they pretty much served as the sub, like they handled the subs, so that was minimal management for me. It felt like some things feel extremely male dominated, and that tends to be one of them. So I have found that I do better when I have a relationship with one contractor that I can work well with, and then they handle all those other personalities. There was 2 that were like way high, which definitely seemed like they were going more for kind of home construction, finished, high-end sort of a thing, which is definitely not what I had a budget for and not what I need, obviously. So that was pretty easy to weed those people out, but it was really helpful to have all those numbers like in front of you, so you could really ask the 2 contractors you were taking seriously, why is this looking like this, and what's the difference between their thing and your thing. And like I said, probably made me an annoying customer, but at least I felt like I was getting the full information, since I was trying to manage it myself and get financing for all of it. And so I wanted to be able to justify, choosing this material over that material, because it meant me borrowing more money to do it. So it's one thing, I guess, if you have a limitless wallet, that you can just be like, sure, whatever's great, whatever's gonna look great, but I really needed to think about every material that we were choosing. So I still feel like I'm learning, because I know that I'm gonna have to deal with a lot of, like, the one issue, which maybe you'll ask me about later, but things that I need help figuring out, or we need to improve upon, is dealing with the humidity shifts. And so we've definitely had some issues around one of our coolers in particular, with some mold and stuff on the outside where the door hits the building. So I think it's because cheap doors were chosen, and so that's my gut instinct tells me that's what it is. So my first instinct is to replace them with some other doors that we had from previous coolers that are made more for this purpose. So I think I'm going to do that first and see if that helps solve the problem. And also the change in season is going to change a lot of that problem. But we did have a ton of moist, humid weather this summer, and so on those days it just really held onto it in here. And so figuring that part out, it's just a lot tighter than it ever was before. And so if you have this closed off, it was really, the humidity piece was tricky. So, but other than that, I feel like, as long as I knew what I needed table-wise, space-wise, and that sort of thing, and as long as I wasn't making anything permanently attached besides a couple sinks, I felt confident that we could just keep moving things around and come up with a setup that we really liked, which we have been and we still are. But that's been kind of fun to see, like, oh, this is what we thought we would use this for, but this is totally not how we use it. So let's switch this or come up with a better way. And we still are figuring out a couple things, like how our bin washing area is, and we want to still make some changes to that. But at least we have a bin washing area, which is a step up.